Cast on 36 stitches with 4mm double pointed needles, and the needle that has the initial tail here, that becomes needle 1. That has 14 stitches and remains constant for quite a long time. So needle 1 has 14 stitches. The remaining 2 stitches doesn't matter so much, just divisible by 2. So what I like to do is indicate that this is my needle 1, so that I always know that that's my starting needle. Knit 2, purl 2, knit 6, and end by purling 2 and knitting 2. Now you'll be repeating that sequence an awful lot for needle 1. Needle 1 is a pretty consistent round. Now we're moving on to needles 2 and 3, and we begin by purling 2 and knitting 2, and all we're doing is repeating that sequence of those 4 stitches for the balance of the work, because we're creating a rib with needles 2 and needles 3. Last needle here. If you've done this round 1 correctly, you'll end the work with purling 2. And here's our last 2 stitches. The last 2 stitches generally want to cling together, so just encourage them to separate and purl 2. So that's round 1. Round 2, needle 1, we begin with knit 2, purl 2, and then we are going to cable. We're going to cable 6B, which means to cable 6 back. So what you do is you involve 6 stitches, but you only slip 3 stitches onto the cable needle, and you slip those stitches to the back of the work, and then you knit 3. Then you take the 3 stitches from your holder, or it should be a proper cable needle, but another needle or a holder like this will work. So I've slipped those onto the left needle, and I'm now going to knit those 3 stitches. So that's a C6B. Next, purl 2 and knit 2. Needles 2 and 3, we are going to begin our rib pattern again. So purl 2, knit 2, and continue that sequence throughout the rest of the stitches on round 2. Remember, if you've done the row correctly, you will end with purl 2. Now, rounds 3, 4 and 5, we're going to repeat round 1. So the next 3 rows are the same. Round 6. Round 6 is a make bobble round. So we've got needle 1 here. Begin by knitting 2, purling 2, knit 3, let's just go in a little bit closer so I can show you. You want to pick up a strand, and then you're going to create 4 stitches from it by knitting, then purling, knitting, purling, all into that one strand. Now turn the work and purl 4. Turn the work and knit 2 together twice. Turn the work, purl 2 together. Turn the work and knit that bobble stitch together with the neighbouring stitch of the pattern. So we've increased to 4 and then gone back to 0 again. Finish needle 1 by knitting 2, purling 2, and knitting 2. So our nice cable pattern on needle 1 is now starting to emerge. Continue the round in our rib pattern, so purl 2, knit 2, rib for the balance of the round. Now rounds 7, 8 and 9 are all as round 1, and this happens a lot in the sequence. So next we will repeat rounds 2 to 8. So this would mean our next row or round would be a cable 6B round. So we'd be cabling on the next round, and then on round 6 of that repeat we will be making a bobble. So this all occurs on needle 1, and the balance of the work is a rib. So that's easy enough. So join me for the hand section once you've completed rounds 2 to 8. I'm just coming to the end of the repeat round called round 8. This is our work so far, look. Now we're going to begin the hand section. The cuff is complete. We're going to increase 6 stitches. Now needle 1, just work it as usual, as in knitting 2, purling 2, knitting 6, purling 2 and knitting 2. Needles 2 and 3 are the ones that contain the increase. So begin by purling 1, and then we're going to make one purlwise. We're going to pick up a strand and purl into the back of that strand, Next we're going to purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to again pick up a strand and work into the back of it. Now repeat that for the rest of the round, i.e. purl 4, pick up a strand, work into the back of it. Purl 4, that's 1. 2, 3, 4, pick up a strand and work into the back of it. Purl 4, pick up a strand and work into the back of it. Purl 4, our last increase, look, pick up a strand and work into the back of it. End the round by purling 1. Now at this point check you've got 42 stitches and arrange needles 2 and 3 into multiples of 4. So I know I've got 14 on needle 1 because that's pretty constant. 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42. So that's perfect. So I've organised needles 2 and 3 so that one has 16 stitches on it and the other 12. So let's begin round 2. So we're still using our 4mm double pointed needles. This will be the last round that we use them. So this is going to be a cable round. So knitting 2, purling 2, and then doing a cable 6 back. So that's needle 1. Now we're going to repeat the Trinity stitch sequence here. I might go in a bit closer for this so you can see. So we begin by purling 1 and knitting 1, then purling 1, and we're doing it all into the same stitch. We've got 3 stitches from 1 there. Next we're going to knit 3 stitches together. Now that is the 4 stitch repeat that we need to continue. So I'll show it once more. Purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 into the same stitch, then knit 3 together. And keep going with that repeat. So I'm showing you the last 4 stitches of round 2. So we're ending the repeat by purling 1, knitting 1, purling 1, and knitting 3 together. So that's round 2. After completing needle 1 on round 3, needles 2 and needles 3 are simply a matter of purling, and not forgetting we're introducing 5mm double pointed needles at this point. Round 4, continuing pattern for needle 1, and the repeat for needles 2 and 3. Going to continue still with our Trinity stitch. We begin this time by knitting 3 together, and then in the next stitch we're purling 1, knitting 1 and purling 1, and that sequence is repeated throughout. So knit 3 together, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, all into the same stitch. So the end of round 4, I've knitted 3 together, and the very last stitch we purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 into that same stitch. So that's round 4. Round 5 is the same as round 3. We're continuing the pattern on needle 1, and then we're purling the remaining stitches. Round 6 is a make bobble round for needle 1. Needles 2 and 3 begin with a purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 into that same stitch, and knit 3 together, and continue that sequence throughout. Now we've completed round 6, we've got the bare bones of the pattern established, so you'll be familiar with the pattern sequences. Now what I want you to do is work in pattern until round 12. I'm going to now describe the important parts to the pattern. I'm going to move on to round 8. The Trinity stitch detail on needles 2 and 3 begins with a knit 3 together, purl, knit, purl. So you repeat that sequence for needles 2 and 3. I'm now going to move on to round 10, where needle 1 has its cable 6 back detail. Needles 2 and 3 begin with a purl, knit, purl and knit 3 together for the remaining stitches. Now round 12, which is the last round, the Trinity stitch part begins with knit 3 together, purl, knit, purl. So that describes briefly what will happen in the next few rounds to get you to round 12. So join me after completing round 12. I'm on round 13, just continuing pattern for needle 1, and needles 2 and 3 you purl the stitches. So this is what our work looks like so far. We're now at the stage where we're going to reserve all these stitches on needle 1 in order that we can create the thumb at a later point. But before we slip them onto a holder, we're going to work needle 1, and this round is a make bobble round. Once you've created your bobble, slip all your stitches from needle 1 onto a holder. Now these stitches will create the thumb at a later point. And once those are on a holder, we can resume working the rest of the round in Trinity stitch. And at the end of the round here, we will then go on to cast on 4 stitches. So the pattern in Trinity stitch here begins, what does it begin with? Purl, knit, purl. So into that first stitch, purl, knit, purl, knit 3 together, purl, knit, purl. So carry on to the end of the round, and then I will show you how I cast on my 4 stitches. Coming to the end of this particular round here, ending on a knit 3 together. Now what I'd like you to do is turn the work in order that we can cast on 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to turn this around to try and reduce the gap, and I'm going to begin working with just 2 double pointed needles. So calling this round 1, we're now going to purl, and I'm holding that as tightly as I can so that I don't have too much of a large strand. Once you've purled this round, just check that you've got 32 stitches. So on to round 2. Begin by knitting 3 together, and then purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 into the next stitch. So you can now repeat that Trinity stitch sequence throughout the entire round. Round 3 is a purl row. So purl across all of those stitches for round 3. Round 4, begin the Trinity stitch pattern, this time with the purl, knit, purl into that same stitch, and then move on and knit 3 together and continue that repeat pattern throughout the entire round. And once that's been done, you can repeat rows 1 to 4 all over again. After completing 4 more rows of Trinity stitch, our work looks something like this. I'm now going to go on and show you the thumb section. I'm going to use a 4mm needle to pick up the stitches just initially, and then I'll change to a 5mm double pointed needle. So pick up 6 stitches. I'm going to go into the edge of each little Trinity stitch, if it will allow me to, and then I'll go into each little sort of lacy gap in between. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got my 6 stitches there, and I'm going to call that needle B. Now place the stitches that are on your holder back onto a 5mm double pointed needle. So you've got 14 stitches there at the moment. So there they all are. Now with a 5mm double pointed needle, I want you to knit 2, and we're going to have a bit of a stitch shuffle. We're going to move those 2 knit stitches onto needle A. Like so. We're now going to work needle A up until the last 2 stitches, and those last 2 knit stitches will be transferred to needle B. So this will be round 1. So this is needle B now being worked, and we're just going to knit all the way across. So that's our first round, and we've got 10 stitches on each needle. Round 2, needle A, purl 2, knit 6, purl 2, and then for needle B we're going to decrease 2 stitches. Now for needle B, we're going to knit 1, knit 2 together, knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together and knit 1. So you'll now have 18 stitches. Round 3, continuing pattern, purl 2, knit 6, purl 2, and then knit the remaining stitches. Round 4, purl 2 and cable 6 back, and then for needle B we're going to do another decrease. So if we move on to needle B, we're going to knit 1 and knit 2 together, knit to the last 3 stitches, and again knit 2 together, knit 1, and that completes round 4. Now rounds 5, 6 and 7 just continue in the main pattern, so i.e. purling 2, knitting 6, purling 2 and knitting the stitches on needle B. I'm working round 8 here, and needle 1 you create the bobble and then continue in the main pattern. Rounds 9, 10 and 11 just continue in pattern. Now we're on to round 13, purl 2, and then slip the next 3 stitches onto a cable needle and hold at the back, but this time we're going to do a little decrease here as we go along. We're going to knit 2 together, knit 1, then we're going to slip the stitches from the cable needle onto the left needle. Next we're going to knit 2 together through the back of the loops, knit 1 and purl 2, and needle B just knit across. After completing this round we can cast off, and that will give us our thumbless finger completed. Complete your glove on 4mm needles and do a knit 2 purl 2 rib to the top. If you complete 6 rows, that will then finish here across the fingers, which will look quite nice. However, if you want all the options, the fingertip cap, the individual fingers, or even the fully enclosed thumb, then you can purchase my instructions from the website thecastingoncouch.com. Thank you for watching.